Hey everybody, I'm here to just do a quick little book haul video. Thought you might like to see some of the books that I bought recently in May, or beginning of May, end of April. Also, sorry for the weird lighting right now. I'm still getting my lighting figured out as I've moved my desk out of a little corner in a room that we'd had it, because that's going to be where the baby goes once he's born. So now I'm back in the living room. Have to figure out where to fit it with the piano and all this stuff. Lighting's going to be a little weird in my videos for a bit, but I'm working on it. I think I'll get something nice eventually. Looks like I've got a good amount of books, so we can lump some of them together to save a little bit of time, so this won't be too long of a video. First book I want to mention is Lord of Light by Roger Zelazny. I always stumble over that name. I picked up Lord of Light primarily because on my list of science fiction books on my main channel, I'll link that down below, Tim Kaine, the creator of Fallout, who has now started posting on YouTube talking about storytelling and games and stuff in a way that's pretty interesting, he just posted that he liked my list. He especially liked that I mentioned A Canticle for Leibowitz. And then I saw on his channel that he talked about his favorite science fiction book, which was Lord of Light. I've never read Lord of Light, but I've been told I would like it. So I don't know exactly when I'm going to get to it, because I have a lot of other stuff on my reading pile right now. But Lord of Light does kind of sound right up my alley. The description, of course: Earth is long since dead. On a colony planet, a band of men has gained control of technology, made themselves immortal, and now rule their world as the gods of the Hindu pantheon. Only one dare oppose them. He who was once Siddhartha and is now Mahasamatman, binder of demons, Lord of Light. I'm already gonna have to work on my pronunciation for some of these names, but I'll get there. It sounds great. I love that blending of fantasy and science fiction. I love religious themes in science fiction. I always really I always seem to respond very positively to that. Same reason I like Anthem. Same reason I like A Canticle for Leibowitz. The Space Trilogy. The Sparrow is a book that I don't mention very often, but I like a good bit. So that's kind of right up my alley. So I think I'm gonna like this a lot. I would love maybe in the future to talk to Tim Kaine about this book or something, maybe on this channel or on the main channel. Either one could be a lot of fun. So Lord of Light is a pretty exciting purchase. The second one is a bunch of books. I mentioned them in the last one, but I'll just show them off here. I'm only going to show the first book, though, and that's because I bought the Malazin Book of the Fallen, or I believe it's Malazin, actually, Book of the Fallen by Steve Erikson. Gardens of the Moon's first book. Been reading it. You can kind of see that it's starting to fall apart, because these mass market paperbacks just always fall apart. It's one reason I don't love them, but it's affordable to buy them. I'm liking it so far. I mentioned in a forthcoming video on the main channel that I think it's a little funny to have a main character named Whiskey Jack. It's a funny name. And I really don't understand what's going on right now. But I've been told by enough people that I will like it. So I will persist. I'm pretty committed that I will probably finish this series. And ideally, I will finish this series this year, mixing it in with my other reading. I like big fantasy worlds. As you're going to see in an upcoming video on the main channel about fantasy books, I tend to like big series. At least my favorite one of all time is a big series. Little hint, perhaps. And so you will see like Malazin is just gonna fit in really well with like the kinds of books that I tend to enjoy. So I've got this big stack of paperbacks just sitting on top of a shelf in my bedroom right now, because we have bookshelves in every corner of this house, basically, or this apartment. We live in a pretty small apartment because we wanted a small place, because we wanted to stay in the city limits of Austin, so we'd actually be around stuff, and it's just stuffed to the brim with books. All right, I also bought a lot of books by one of my favorite authors, Ursula K. Le Guin. I've read a lot of Le Guin, and I owned some of Le Guin, but I recently decided I was just going to start purchasing as much Le Guin as I can, because I just want to have it all, and I kind of want to be comprehensive as a fan, almost a devotee of Le Guin. One of the ones I think is most exciting is this little collection called Changing Planes. Changing Planes is a short story collection, but this idea is that someone can actually change planes, like planes of existence, and you get to, thus each chapter is kind of like a new short story, and it's got kind of a tying together with this idea of one character being able to change planes. But one reason that I really wanted to read it, the whole thing, is because this has the Flyers of Guy in it. Or Guy, I think it's Guy, but G-Y. And I love that story. There's an episode of LeVar Burton Reads podcast. I don't really listen to it that often, but I remember listening to that while walking around Tokyo once and just listening to that story and just loving it, just absolutely loving it. As a huge fan of Le Guin, I really love basically everything I've read by her, but I want to read everything now. I want to read everything. I've mentioned before that I want to do the same thing with Dostoevsky. You might say like those two authors, as really formative for me, are authors that I kind of owe it to kind of understand all of their work. So in addition to those Hainish cycle volumes that I've showed off before when I talk about The Dispossessed or The Left Hand of Darkness, I also got The Found and the Lost, which is the collected novellas, which I have not read a lot of these. I mean, Le Guin wrote so much. She's very prolific. So I'm excited about this. And I also have more of her Library of America stuff over on my shelf in my little reading nook, which, you know what, I'll just show off here. So over in the reading nook there, some stuff, not the clearest shot, but you can see there's kind of a whole Le Guin shelf that is quickly forming. So I'm excited to, read through Le Guin as I can. How I'm going to fit that in with my Malazin read, who knows, but I will make it work as best I can. So that's a lot of science fiction and fantasy. Let's show off 3 philosophy books that I recently bought. The first is by Martha Nussbaum, called The Therapy of Desire, Theory and Practice in Hellenistic Ethics. I'm very influenced by ancient philosophy these days. Not my focus when I was getting my PhD, but I just found that I wanted to read more and more after I graduated or after I left academia. And Nussbaum, I think, is just a really competent and pleasing scholar to read. She's a good writer. She does political philosophy as well. I was like that. I taught a little bit of some of her work in classes that I would teach to undergrads. So I just have a good experience with her, and I love this idea, Theory and Practice in Hellenistic Ethics. It sounds like it's going to be a really great comprehensive work. It's kind of chunky. Take me a little while to read this one, but I'll mix it in with some other stuff, and I think it will be quite good. And then I have 2 books by Julia Annis. I've read selections from both of these books, but I have never read the whole things, and I didn't own copies. And that is Intelligent Virtue by Julia Annis, and then The Morality of Happiness. Morality of Happiness, if you recall, was quoted in my How to Journal Like a Philosopher video. Julia Annis, again, is a contemporary ethicist, but she's writing from a perspective of someone heavily influenced by Hellenistic ethics, a lot of virtue ethics, a lot of Aristotle. You can see why I would like this. So looking forward to reading those. Not quite sure when they're going to make it on there. I've got some books that I'm planning on reading this month. I've mentioned some in the last video. I've also decided I'm going to be reading a few more works of like philosophy and theology stuff, and one book on biblical criticism by Kugel called The Bible as It Was, which is more about Jewish readings of the Bible, which I think are just an interesting topic to read that I have never really spent a lot of time doing. So I'm going to be diving into that stuff this month as well, adding it all into my TBR. Don't know how I'm going to manage it all. I'm going to try my best. But I'm going through a bit of a reading binge right now. I'm reading more this month than I did last month, and that always feels really good. All right, this is a quick video. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you all have a great rest of your week, and I will talk to you soon.